Welcome to the This Week in Astrology video forecast. This is episode number 57 for the second half of November 2015. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Benjamin Bernstein of astroshaman.com, coming to you from Asheville, North Carolina. I'm an astrologer, shamanic healer, and awakening activator, and it's my pleasure to bring you these semi-monthly astrology forecasts. What's new in the second half of November? A potent Saturn-Neptune square is a match made in heaven for law of attraction manifestation and embodying divine consciousness in your everyday life. And two Uranus-Pluto squares fire up a fresh round of revolutionary transformation, and the power of an extraordinary Gemini full moon is augmented by three powerful aspect patterns. What a forecast we've got for you! What's old as we come into this period? A waxing moon, and that T-square that started just barely at the end of our last forecast on November 15th, Venus-Pluto-Uranus T-square, is still active through most of November. So, how does November's full moon reflect the biggest change ever in my astrology forecast, starting with this one? Here's the big picture on how I'll now be focusing on the big picture! Sagittarius and Gemini, the sun and moon signs of this forecast full moon, are the opposite signs which form the axis of communication. Gemini is like the trivial pursuit expert or the hard news reporter. It's better at gathering information than understanding its deeper ramifications. Just the facts, man. Sagittarius is more like the philosopher or the op-ed columnist. Its job is to tease out the higher meaning from all of that information. I've been doing astrology forecasts for about 10 years, mostly using a day-by-day approach. But starting with this forecast, I'm going to release this rigidly chronological, more Geminian approach. Instead, I'm going to try a Sagittarian experiment, putting more attention on the dominant astrological themes of the moment. In addition, I'm going to present the information in what journalists call inverted pyramid style, which means I'll be putting the most important astrology themes for the forecast period first, even if that means presenting them out of chronological order. Now, there's nothing wrong with day-by-day forecasting. As one of my favorite song titles says, everything matters if anything matters at all. But you can lose the forest for the trees if you get inundated with too much non-essential information. A brain overstuffed with information ends up remembering less than if it had been given just the right amount in the first place. Now, if you're anything like me, my sun and ascendant are in fixed signs, you might initially resist a change like this. Maybe you've been enjoying my forecasts just the way they were. If so, I ask that you hang in there with me and give me a few weeks and give this new approach a chance. I'll be asking for your feedback on which forecasting approach you prefer in January. The leaves have mostly fallen here in Asheville, opening up breathtaking views of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Perhaps that has inspired me to start forecasting the bigger picture for you now. The headline event for the second half of November, and one of the biggest astrological game changers of 2015 and 2016, is a potent Saturn-Neptune square exact on November 26th. That's Saturn 7 Sagittarius, Neptune 7 Pisces. This is a match made in heaven for law of attraction manifestation, dissolving structures that don't serve you, and embodying divine consciousness in your everyday life. Amazingly, this long-term aspect is stimulated by no less than 4 trigger planets during November's second half: Mars, Mercury, the Sun, and the Moon. Let's look at the big picture first. What I'm about to say is a little bit technical, but you'll be past it before you know it. The Saturn-Neptune square has already been in orb, but not yet exact, December 2014 through early May of 2015. Saturn and Neptune took a breather, then came back into orb, which means close enough to connect energetically, in late September of 2015. Their square will remain active through mid-November of 2016, and the square will be exact twice more on June 17th and September 10th of 2016. There, technical part's over. One great way to use the Saturn-Neptune aspect is with law of attraction work. For a brief law of attraction primer, see my post, The Law of Attraction Made Simple, on astroshaman.com. Just use the search box in the upper right corner. In this context, Neptune represents visualization and imagination, while Saturn represents crystallization and material manifestation. Everyone's manifestation juju will be amplified for the next 12 months while the Neptune-Saturn square is in orb. To learn more about this, see my post, An Astrological Signature for the Law of Attraction, once again on astroshaman.com. Another of the archetypal possibilities of this aspect is the dissolution, Neptune, of the structures, Saturn, that don't serve you. These structures could be physical or energetic, material objects, relationships, ways of thinking, and ways of being. I recommend releasing these things intentionally. You might as well, since the things in your life that have passed their due date will be slipping away in any case. My all-time favorite use of Saturn-Neptune aspects is to integrate my ecstatic divine consciousness, Neptune, into my 3D reality, Saturn. If you don't already have a quick and effective way to do this, and want to routinely experience more harmony, flow, ease, and grace in your life, check out my free Heal and Awaken invocations. You can get to those on astroshaman.com. In the home page, there's a little purple banner. It should be on the screen right now saying Heal and Awaken Invocations. That'll be on the top of the homepage sidebar on a computer. If you're on a phone or a tablet, you may have to scroll down a bit to find it. But it'll take you to the section of my site, all free, that gives you that information and techniques and even some MP3s to guide you. Now, we can deepen our Saturn-Neptune interpretation by adding the sign that Saturn is in. That would be Sagittarius, whose meanings include higher education, religion, philosophy, foreign influences and travel, the call to adventure, teaching others about the meaning of life, celebration, euphoria, and unlimited abundance. Be mindful of what you have going on in these areas. If there's a lot of flow, ease, and inspiration, Neptune's giving them a big thumbs up. If things are dissolving away no matter what you do, it's time to let them go. Now, why have I not talked about the sign Neptune's in? Because it's in Pisces, which has exactly the same meaning as Neptune. So Neptune's placement in the sign that it co-rules gives us no additional information. Now, the Saturn-Neptune square gets a ton of stimulation during the last week of November. Just listen to all these events. Libra and Mars sextile Saturn and quincunxes Neptune on November 24th. Sagittarian Mercury conjoins Saturn on November 24th and squares Neptune on November 25th. The Gemini full moon on November 25th forms a T-square with the Moon, Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune. I'll be talking more about this in a moment. And as already talked about, the Saturn-Neptune square is exact on November 26th. Finally, the Sagittarian Sun squares Neptune and conjoins Saturn on November 29th. And if you don't know what conjoin means, it just means it's making a conjunction. They're in the same place. The meaning of the individual trigger planets is less important than the fact that the Saturn-Neptune square is getting massively energized. So decide what you want to do with this energy, be it manifestation, dissolution, embodied awakening, or any other Saturn-Neptune activity, and go to town. Revolutionary transformation, the main theme of the seemingly endless Uranus-Pluto square, receives two significant T-square stimulations in November's second half. Uranus and Pluto have finished the 7 exact squares they made between 2012 and 2015, but they will pull within 1 degree of each other in January. We'll continue to feel the effects of these powerhouses of change through the end of the decade. Uranus and Pluto are first triggered by Venus as she forms a T-square. This started on November 15th. I talked about it on the last video forecast. It's going to peak on November 22nd. It ends on November 25th. This is a great time to bring conscious and positive change to your relationships, creative expression, and money. Venus's placement in Libra reinforces the themes of relationships and creativity. Release what can't be fixed, heal what can be positively transformed, and follow your intuitive flashes to take what's working to the next level. A more potent and longer-lasting Uranus-Pluto event fires up as Mars forms a T-square with them the day after Thanksgiving. Its T-square begins on November 27th, peaks on December 9th, and ends on December 15th. This Mars-Uranus-Pluto T-square can be as volatile as nitroglycerin. Boom! Stay as far away from potentially explosive situations, figuratively or literally, as you can. I'm flashing on the TV series Lost, that wonderful J.J. Abrams things, except for the last season. There was that old ship way up in the tree, and it had this very volatile, explosive dynamite on there. There was some plot things where they had to get that dynamite and do something with it. So that totally came to mind when I thought about this Mars-Uranus-Pluto T-square. Now, unexpected outbursts of anger or violence are more likely under this tripwire energy. But who's to say the same energy can't be used for good? Everything beneficial that Mars represents, including initiation, assertiveness, sexuality, exercise, and fighting for a worthy cause, can take quantum leaps to the next level. Like Venus, Mars will also be forming its T-square from Libra, so the themes of relationship and creativity will be stimulated once again. November's full moon, with the moon at 3 degrees 20 minutes Gemini, shines forth on November 25th at 5:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Any Gemini full moon is good for reflecting on how you're doing with your learning, communication, playfulness, humor, and life diversity. And how are your relationships with your siblings, cousins, and neighbors? Can represent that too. This full moon contains 3 strong aspect patterns involving the luminaries. That's an unusually high number. I mentioned one of this lunation's aspect patterns above in the Saturn-Neptune square forecast, a T-square with the Moon, Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune. In this illustration, it's the right triangle made up of solid red lines. On one level, this could be thought of as 3 trigger planets, Moon, Sun, and Mercury, stimulating the Saturn-Neptune square. As I've already said, manifestation, dissolution, and embodied awakening are 3 of the most obvious ways to use the combined energies of Saturn and Neptune. Learning, teaching, and communication are also strong themes of this T-square. This is because the moon is in Gemini, the sign of communication, and opposing Mercury, the planet of communication. In addition, the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn are in Sagittarius. This is the sign of higher education and teachings about the meaning of life. So visualizing and acting upon whatever you want to learn about or teach is powerfully energized by this full moon. A kite aspect pattern, that's the blue lines in the illustration, is formed by the Moon, Sun, Mercury, Mars, Ceres, and Saturn. One way to use this is to follow your heart, the moon, with harmonious, consistent effort, that's Libra and Mars sextile Saturn, toward a goal that you find adventurous and expansive. 3 planets in Sagittarius at the focal point of the kite, the tip of it. This could lead to unexpected abundance, Ceres in Aquarius, new learning, Mercury, and enhanced vitality, Sun in Sagittarius. A hard rectangle is a less common aspect pattern. It's bounded by 45-degree semi-squares and 135-degree sesquares, which are minor hard aspects. The opposing corners of the rectangle are connected by oppositions. In the illustration, it's the rectangle made by the red dashed and dotted lines. The most significant connection in this challenging aspect pattern is the Venus-Uranus opposition. With the Gemini moon craving variety, feel into whether your current significant relationships are providing enough diversity to satisfy you. If you and a partner are in a rut, can you agree to shake up your usual patterns and try some different things? Should you consider renegotiating your relationship agreements? This hard rectangle can also help clear away your creative cobwebs. What new direction or fresh approach might help rekindle your artistic passion? The Sabian symbol for this full moon is holly and mistletoe. Bring Christmas spirit to a home. Now, you may remember this Sabian symbol interpretation from an earlier forecast, but I still like what I wrote back then, and I feel okay about repeating it with a few minor tweaks. At first glance, this Sabian symbol might seem a bit premature in November, but a little detective work reveals its relevance. This full moon's hard rectangle aspect pattern makes relationships a significant theme in this lunation. This is also true for mistletoe, a parasitic plant that draws on the energy of its host tree for survival. But mistletoe gives back generously. According to Wikipedia, quote, mistletoe has a disproportionately pervasive influence over its community. Areas with greater mistletoe densities support higher diversities of animals. Thus, rather than being a pest, mistletoe can have a positive effect on biodiversity, providing high-quality food and habitat for a broad range of animals in forests and woodlands worldwide. The wide variety of holly species also give as good as they get. To quote Wikipedia again, they are extremely important food for numerous species of birds and are also eaten by other wild animals. During winter storms, birds often take refuge in hollies, which provide shelter, protection from predators by the spiny leaves, and food. So this Sabian symbol highlights a point that the natural world never forgets, but that we humans must be reminded of. We are interdependent with the world around us. To live in harmony with our planet, including our fellow humans, we must only take as much as we truly need and give back generously to that which supports us. We must never forget that we humans are in committed partnership with planet Earth. Because of our inescapable interconnectedness, how we treat her is ultimately how we treat ourselves. The true Christmas spirit is about peace on earth and generosity to our fellow beings. These are ideas we would do well to live by every day of the year. The Sun enters Sagittarius on November 22nd at 10:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This gives a month's worth of stimulation to the themes I've already mentioned above: higher education, religion, and philosophy. Also, foreign influences, the call to adventure, and teaching others about the meaning of life are energized. And don't forget to take advantage of Sagittarius' love of celebration, euphoria, and unlimited abundance. There's a couple of aspect patterns starting on November 30th, the last day of the month, but it makes more sense to me to interpret those for you in my next forecast, since their effects will be felt almost entirely in December. FYI, the aspect patterns are a Mercury-Jupiter-Chiron T-square and a cradle with Mars, Ceres, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. So that's all for the second half of November. Once again, thanks for sticking with me as I give this new forecast approach a try. What's going to be on our next video forecast? I'll have that for you in a moment. By the way, I have radically shortened the announcements section. I've got a feeling I was going on too long, so I've tightened it up considerably. So stick with me with this too. I got a bunch of referrals for business coaches. I asked for those on the last video podcast. Thank you, those of you who gave me referrals. I'm very grateful. Information on everything that follows is in the What's New section of the homepage of astroshaman.com. Have you had enough of being limited by fear, doubt, and past traumas? Would you welcome more harmony, flow, and ease in your life? Are you ready to get unstuck and blossom into the highest possible expression of your divine service and spiritual magnificence? Then you're going to love Shamanic Breakthrough Weekend, Burst Past Your Limitations. This safe, life-changing event will feature powerful transformation modalities. These include shamanic breathwork, planetary invocations, energetic cord cutting, astrology, shamanic awakening ceremony, shamanic spirit journeying, and more. Register now. Space is limited. This is a closed container residential retreat facilitated by Robert Six Owls and myself. It's going to be at Illuminated Heart Sanctuary, an hour west of Asheville, North Carolina. Your tuition includes lodging at the comfortable, fully furnished Illuminated Heart House. It's going to be Friday, December 11th to Sunday, December 13th. Friday, it starts 7 p.m. and it ends on Sunday at 3. Normal tuition is $395, but if you register by November 25th, that's just a few days away, you'll get it for just $349. So jump on that now if you're interested. A lot of people will be coming in from out of town and other states to be here. In addition, I will appear on the Awaken to Happiness Now Global Summit. My featured appearance will be on Monday, November 30th, 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. I'll be on there for about 90 minutes. My topic will be Awaken Now, Live in Harmony, Grace, and Synchronicity using simple, effective invocations. I'll discuss my Heal and Awaken invocations and will lead listeners through a complete invocation cycle live on the show. Finally, my Basque program is now purring along in its groove. If you'd like to experience embodied awakening, the ability to live your life in a magical state of ease, flow, harmony, and grace, then Basque might just help you do that. The invocation techniques at its core have already helped hundreds awaken to an ecstatic state of divine union. You can get lots of free bonus gifts for trying out Basque, and there's a 100% money-back guarantee if you're not completely satisfied. That's all the announcements. What's coming up on our next show? Aspect patterns. Oh my, I mentioned two already. The cradle and the T-square I've mentioned already, but we're also having the peaking of that T-square with Mars, Uranus, and Pluto, another T-square with Mars, Pallas, Athena, and Uranus, and yet another T-square with the Sun, Jupiter, and Chiron. That's a lot of intensity in the air, a fair amount of challenge. So astrology is good at helping identify that and letting you know what to do with it. Also, Pluto and Pallas, Athena conjoin. We have a new moon in Sagittarius. Venus trine Neptune beautifully opens artistic creativity and divine connection, and the Sun's going to square Chiron and Jupiter. So a very dynamic first half of December. I sure hope you'll join me so I can help you make the best use of all these astrological energies. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my Benjamin Bernstein YouTube channel to be notified when I post new videos. And if you like this video, please share it. This free video forecast is a partner project with iTunes #1 astrology podcast, This Week in Astrology. That's also free. You can get my semi-monthly astrology forecast in writing by subscribing to my free email newsletter at astroshaman.com. Once you're there, you can also link to my Facebook page where I post daily forecasts. My personal services include astrology, shamanic healing, and awakening activation. All are equally effective in person or long distance. My guarantee makes my services risk-free. If you don't feel that your experience was helpful, no charge. I also offer other great products and services, many of which are free. To learn more, visit astroshaman.com. Thanks again for watching. I wish you infinite blessings as the stars light your way.